What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Get 'em Podcast, where we talk about all the things that excite us, piss us off, and all the above in the gaming industry. I'm your host, Nick, with my co-host here, Stu, and it does feel good to be back, by the way. How are we doing today, Stu?
So I was going to ask, man. I was going to ask how your vacation was. Time away from the podcast. How'd it go?
Just time away from the normal redundancy of life in general is always nice. You get so, just bogged down by the schedule, the schedule that you have, whether you're going to school or going to work, what kind of chores you have to do when you get home and whatnot, and getting ready. It really does become I don't know, it just becomes a pain in the ass after a while, honestly. So it feels good to get away from and get on vacation a little bit. Disney was a lot of fun. Had a good time there. Actually, I already have another vacation scheduled, but it's later next year. Going back to Disney again, actually.
Nice.
So we stayed at a really nice hotel. It was called the Coronado Springs.
Okay.
And we stayed in so they have this new tower that they just built, and it's huge. But we stayed away from that tower. We stayed in one of their off-site. Well, it's not off-site. It's still on-site, but it's further away from the tower. And we stayed in those. But this time when we come back next time, we're going to be staying in the tower itself. So I'm excited for that because it's absolutely beautiful. If you know anything about Disney, it's the tops, baby. It's the tops.
See, I've only ever been there once, and I think I was 12. So it's been a couple years since then. I'd love to go back, but at the same time, I'm okay not going back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge vacation guy, to be honest.
Really?
I enjoy vacations, obviously. Who doesn't? What psycho wouldn't?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I care more about spending time with people, close people at least. So if I'm going to go on vacation, I'm not going to go to the Bahamas or to Disney. It'd be like, hey, let me go visit this person that I haven't seen in forever. Or, hey, my bed looks pretty great for the entire weekend. Let's just hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's more my style.
Yeah. And it's always nicer to go on vacation with somebody. So if you're traveling with friends or something, it's a lot better than if you want to go on your own somewhere. I knew this one guy at work, and he's older guy, and he's like, yeah, I just go on vacation by myself a lot. And I'm like, that sounds really lonely. I don't know if I would want to go on vacation by myself. You know what I mean? If you're going to meet up with friends or something, that's cool. But if you're going on vacation to literally just a beach by yourself, I don't know how I would feel about that. I don't know if I'd be able to do it, honestly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And then I guess another part is for me, if I'm going to spend the money, I'd rather get something that I can use long term, right? So instead of spending, I don't know, let's just say $1,000 on a vacation, which I think is pretty cheap.
Yeah,
for a vacation.
It is.
Let's bump that number up. Let's say $2,000, which is still probably pretty cheap, but I don't really know pricing. But anyway, $2,000 I could spend on vacation and be there for a week, or I could take that money and do something else with it, like get some upgrades for my motorcycle or for my car, or get a new computer thing, something that's going to last me a while.
Yeah.
I'd much rather spend the money that way.
Well, that's true. Because at the same time, as much money as I spent on the Disney vacation, it was well up there. But you could definitely use that money for something else. But it also is kind of nice just to get away, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I definitely don't bash the getting away part, and I totally get that. I think it comes down to just different people, right? My getting away is a 2-hour-long motorcycle ride, or carving up some mountains in my car, something like that.
Yeah.
But definitely, that might be different when I have a significant other, right? When that,
that's
when that
true.
happens.
That's true. You never know, women or men, I'm not going to say, in this, in this day and age, it's whatever.
2019.
Exactly.
Yeah, almost
2019, baby. Whatever it is, it does change a lot. Especially with my wife, she wants to go places, so I don't have a choice. So I say, okay, let's go. Can't wait. But anyway, before we get off topic too much, I do have one thing I want to ask you, but also we'll tell you guys the topics today. We're going to be talking about Halo, and then also about virtual reality headsets and whatnot a little bit later on. But I want to ask you, Stu, how's your streaming going?
It's good. I've had 2 streams. I had one that was about 4 hours, and then the other one was about 6.5. It's a lot of fun. You know, I don't have obviously a big community. I mean, I barely have anyone who shows up.
Definitely
But
takes
there's
time to build stuff like that.
oh yeah, no, for sure. And it's still nice, like when people are there in chat, like it's just fun to interact with them,
Hmm.
right? And to be playing a game and then having a conversation, and it's definitely an art. And it, you know, after having just 2 streams already, you get a lot of respect for those higher end streamers like
Yeah.
Shroud and Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tapman and all
Dr.
of them who are
Disrespect, he puts so much effort into his streams. That's what I love about him, dude. He literally puts so much effort into like the different things that he does, the different scenes that he has. It's crazy. It really is crazy.
no, yeah, but I just mean more like along the lines of outside of the streams is just being able to balance the gameplay and then reading their crazy chats. I have like 3 people or 2 people in my chat.
Well, that's true, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I gotta catch up, you know, like
Well, if you ever sit in their
just
chats
insane.
long enough, they don't. I mean, sometimes they'll talk to chat, but more often it's just kind of like rhetorical questions. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just
yeah. No,
like
I
because
got you.
there's just too many in there. I know that YouTube has a chat slow mode for streamers and stuff, so it'll slow down the chat
Twitch
for them.
does as well.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah. So I mean, streaming's really cool. You know, I did it for a little bit. I didn't see much growth with that, but it was a lot of fun to do. Um, but also, I wanted to say one more thing, which I actually just literally forgot. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Let me think. Oh, so all right. So this is kind of on the same subject as social media.
Mhm.
Um, but I actually was sometimes I Google myself. So I
Okay,
Google
interesting.
I Google the Instagram channel's name a lot to see if there's anything up. Um, but so I was looking at this thing and it said it was like engagement and it's kind of like a social blade, which if you guys don't know what a social blade is, it's literally where you can see how your engagement's doing with the community and everything. You can see how well you're doing compared to other Instagram people. But I saw this thing and it literally said that if I post somebody or if I post anybody or pretty much anything that I post is worth $40 a post with my engagement that I have currently on Instagram.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
So why is the money not rolling in?
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, I would have to charge people $40, but they say that every
Uh,
post that I make is worth $40, which is crazy to me to think that.
that is interesting. Yeah, yeah.
So I could only imagine the people that have a million or more followers, how much a post that they do is worth.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, that'd be insane.
But anyway, moving on from all of that, let's get into Halo. So, Halo has always had kind of a special place in my heart. I mean, since its first release in about 2001, I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed mainly the story that they had. It was really immersive. Did you play all of them or no?
The only one I didn't play was Halo ODST. I but I played, you know, Halo Combat Evolved, the first Halo on the original Xbox, way back when I was 6 or something.
Yeah. So the Halos that I mean I played all the Halos, but the Halos that I got into the most was Halo Wars. I loved the Halo Wars franchise. It was so much fun. Did you ever play Halo Wars?
That's the what's it called?
It's like a
Uh
real time strategy game.
yeah, no, I don't that's so if there's any one style of game out there that is not for me, it's real-time strategy games. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
not that I'm not good at them, I just don't enjoy them. I like personally having control over one person, right? Like turn-based strategies sometimes I can get into it. It depends on the game. But for me, I like controlling a single person and that's it. And then
Yeah.
being able to dominate, not have this control everything. That's just not my style. So no, I never really got into that Halo game.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it because it reminded me of the games that I used to play when I was younger. And sadly, I forget exactly what they were called, but I mean, it was back in the day, baby. But I've always liked the real time strategies. I feel like I don't know. It's not as fast paced. It does get fast paced later on once you start attacking bases and stuff. But in the beginning, it's kind of like a slower pace. It's just a nice, different kind of gaming feel than just first person shooters and third person shooters where you're just literally respawn, die, kill, respawn,
Right.
die. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's definitely a lot different. But with all that being said, they did just release Halo to Windows, which is nice. But I still think, and a lot of people I read this on Reddit were saying that it's still it's not a mouse and keyboard kind of game. They don't feel like they
Mhm.
feel like it's more of a controller game. And I kind of agree with that, especially coming from the COD standpoint. I feel like those games are more controller than they are mouse and keyboard. They're definitely tailored to controllers more. I feel like they're more, I don't know, fluent in the hand, or I just feel like they work better.
It's for me, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. It's weird. I don't even know how to word this. Like, I get where they're coming from. I do, and there's definitely certain times when a controller could be better. But
Hmm.
like when it comes to aiming, just nothing beats the accuracy of a mouse. Nothing does. And if someone says that, "Oh, well, I can be just as good." Like, yeah, potentially, sure. I mean, in a very select few cases, does or can controller be up there with mouse and keyboard, but very few. And that's not a hardware thing. That's a player thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you take Shroud, right? You does it probably doesn't matter what controller or who plays on controller. If it comes to aiming and Shroud, like he's winning, right? And I know it's Shroud. I know it's the god himself, but you can just be so much more precise with your entire hand than you can with your single thumb.
Yeah, but he only plays PC, right? He doesn't play controller.
Correct. Yeah, and that's my point.
Yeah.
Is the fact
So
that yeah.
I remember him talking, I don't know how long ago it was, but he was thinking about getting an Xbox or a PlayStation, one of the two, and then trying to just like mess around on there a little bit. And it is an insane difference. Like I am relatively good at Xbox, I would say. But when I
Yeah.
switched over to PC, especially PUBG on PC. Oh my god, I can't do that. Like last night, I was playing PUBG on Xbox, and it was. I mean, I was doing well. I think I had one game where I had like 9, almost 10 kills. I think, and I
Right.
was doing relatively well. But if I go on PUBG on PC, it's crazy difference.
I
But
just and I don't know, honestly, I don't think that's a fair comparison because there's some sort of disconnect when it comes to PUBG
yeah,
on computer.
well, that's true
I mean,
because
you
Rainbows.
and I, you still play PUBG on Xbox. I used
Yeah.
to play, you and I were really into it. We dominated.
Oh yeah.
And then, I have that same feeling of, hey, this is gonna be similar. Obviously, there's gonna be an adjustment, but it actually, in theory, should be easier on mouse and keyboard because it's aiming, it's PUBG, whatever.
Hmm.
It feels like garbage. It feels like hot, stinking garbage on PC,
It
and I
does.
don't know what it is. The guns don't feel good.
They feel like they kick too hard.
Now, the snipers feel amazing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I used a
So,
Winnie on there and it was
the
insanely.
snipers feel good. It's just when you get to the other guns, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm
Yeah.
shooting and my bullets just disappear. Like, I don't know, and it's one of those things where I might need someone who, like, actively plays it and it's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what am I possibly doing wrong?" Because when I have a sniper in my hands, I'm dropping fools. When anything else is in my hands, I just die.
Well, I hooked a controller up to my PC for PUBG, and I actually got like 2 or 3 kills with it, which says something about the PC players that I played against. I don't know if they were trash or what, but I mean, it. I don't know if it's just because the controller feels better with PUBG, but I mean, for PUBG, it came out on PC, so you would think that it would be better that way. But I feel like the graphics and everything about PUBG on PC is phenomenal. But when it
Uh-huh.
comes to the controls and everything, I feel like it's better on Xbox. And I don't know if it's because, I played it on Xbox and that's how I got used to it. If I played it on PC when it first came out and I stuck with it that way, I'd definitely be a lot better than I am now with it.
Mhm.
It might be because that's the way that I just started playing it. So I don't know necessarily if it's just, some games are meant to be mouse and keyboard games or if they're meant to be controller games. It could just be, what you're really comfortable with playing. So I actually saw that in a Summit 1G stream the other night where they were talking about the controllers and everything like that. And I don't know if he actually said anything about it, but I don't know.
I know when it comes to like Dark Souls, for instance, like we talked about on our last podcast, that is by far a controller game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people have obviously used mouse and keyboards. People have freaking used Guitar Hero controllers to play that game.
I've heard of that.
Okay, first off, they're psychos. Second off, why? Okay, it doesn't make sense.
No.
But mouse and keyboard for that game is not advisable. Controller's just 10 times better. It just is. So I do agree with you. There are certain games that a mouse and keyboard is better, or a controller is better, or a Guitar Hero controller is better. But I don't know. I think when it comes to shooters, my personal thing is like it's mouse and keyboard ultimately. With Halo, Halo's a little weird in that you don't have a sprint button or a sprint function. You really don't, outside of like a few weapons, have an ADS. At least in the old Halos, the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be fine on either. I think all the old school people, us and other people are gonna use controllers because that's what we grew up on. That's what we played. That's what we're used to. Could we use mouse and keyboard? Probably. Would we notice a huge difference? Probably not. I'd be curious to see if Halo makes a comeback in the competitive league.
Yeah.
Just with all the games being re-released for $10. First off, let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is an awesome move. You can buy the Master Chief Collection for $40 and it gives you all 6 games.
Yeah.
Or you can spend $10 each if you just want like Halo Reach or eventually third one, whatever. I think that's awesome, and I think that really needs to be commended.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen much on that, but that is awesome.
That is pretty neat. I mean, it's nice that it's not insanely expensive. Mainly probably because the Halo franchise is worth a couple million as it is anyway, maybe even more.
Right.
But going back to what we were talking about with the mouse and keyboard one more time, I was watching somebody play it, and it literally looks like they were on mouse and keyboard, and it literally looks like they were playing CS:GO. I mean, the way that they were, playing with it, just no, aim down sights or anything. They were just hip firing everything.
Right.
I mean, it literally looked like they were playing a CS:GO match.
Mhm.
But I was Summit 1G that I was watching, which he is, he came from CS:GO, so it might be just the way that he plays, but it literally did look like that. But I don't know. I mean, Halo has been a great game, and I've loved the series so much as it is. I don't know what else they're gonna do with it. I don't know if they'll continue to release games for it, but they might. No. Yeah, I think the last release that they had was I think Halo Wars 2 was the last release that they had, actually. And then Halo 5 before that for the actual story. I don't know. I feel like they're not probably going to have too much more come out for it. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are beating, series to death now. Like the Star Wars series, beating it to death. I mean, any kind of game that they can continue to pump out COD or anything like that, to continue to get money off of it, they will. So there might be another Halo in the Reach one day. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Halo Infinite was announced for 2020.
Oh, okay.
So that's a new game coming out. It's interesting because Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach were all amazing games. All felt great. You got connected to each story. I would even throw Halo 4 in there with Cortana, losing going crazy essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really enjoyed Halo 4. Now I know Halo 4 got a lot of crap from a lot of people. I really enjoyed it. And then Halo 5, and no one talks about Halo. From what from what I've seen, Halo 5 was kind of like the black sheep of the family. No one wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I mean, outside of the fact the game just looked like trash. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right when you said people are just beating games down. Call of Duty's been beaten down for a long time. No, I like Modern Warfare. Let me correct that statement. I like certain aspects of the recent Modern Warfare.
Mm-hmm.
there are other aspects that have really pissed me off, right? I don't know why I feel like I'm a two-ton whale moving around. And that is my I'm a soldier. I'm a trained, fit soldier, and I can't move a 10-pound gun, 8-pound gun around. Not even
Yeah.
that. Without breaking my arms. There are just aspects of that game that still need to be fixed, right? So I think ultimately there's so much potential in a lot of these games, in Halo and Call of Duty, but the last few releases of these series have been utter trash.
Yeah, but I mean, like with Halo, it's going to be more of a story game because it's people buy it
Oh,
mainly for the single player.
absolutely.
Whereas with COD, they play it for multiplayer. I mean, I've just now started playing the Modern Warfare campaign, which I really do enjoy so
Finally.
far. So I don't know if once we get off this podcast, Daddy might be hopping on there to play a little bit
You
more.
should. You should.
But I feel like a story can only go so far, especially like the Gears franchise. Like, I mean, the newest Gears, they left it off. I know there's going to be another one, obviously, because the way that they ended it, it's like, come on. The game died with Marcus, and even though Marcus is in this one, I mean, it's like literally like it's over. It's over. Quit. You can't.
Right.
I mean, they're trying to make a new main character, which I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. So, but they really are. They beat games to death, and then.
But then on the other front, you have games that come back from the dead. God of War.
Well, that's true.
I would put up there in the top 3 best games I've ever played in my entire life.
Well, that was the first time they actually got it right. You know what I mean? But God of War was always a good game. But like when games
I wouldn't say it was the first time they got it right. I just think the reemergence of it.
Well, I'm just saying when games come back, like they got that one right.
Right.
I mean, I love the God of War franchise. I played them all except for the very last one, sadly, because I don't have a PlayStation. But I've played them all up to that one.
Right.
And it was a great game. I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Halo will probably like you said, there's another game announced. I'm sure it'll just continue, and I'm sure Gears will continue. I'm sure they'll keep beating these games to death until finally they get a Mass Effect syndrome, and then they just die.
Well, that's another point to talk about is like we have different games that Red Dead Redemption, right, and Red Dead Redemption 2. How many years were between those two games? It was a good portion,
quite a lot,
right?
Yeah,
a lot. Yet Red Dead Redemption 2 was just as amazing as Red Dead Redemption 1.
When they take their time making the game is
yes, and I think there's a balance that needs to be met with investors, publishers, expectations versus the game directors, the designers, and all. Right? I think when it comes to like Red Dead Redemption 2 or the most recent God of War, you have everyone on the same level, right?
Yeah.
And what's the outcome? God of War gets Game of the Year, right? Sells million. I don't know how many copies. That don't quote me for this, but a lot of copies.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2, contender for Game of the Year. I don't know if it's been announced yet. Probably not. But regardless, sells a lot of copies, does really freaking well. And then we have a Call of Duty or, Halo 5, for instance, where we're just pushing content at this point and not actually caring about what is happening in the story because it's Halo. It's Call of Duty. People are going to buy it regardless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and saying that, I mean, even going on to like Fallout, for instance, Fallout 4.
Don't even get me started on Bethesda.
2015. I mean, not a lot of people like Fallout 4. I didn't particularly hate it. I actually enjoyed it. I liked New Vegas a little bit more. And then in 2018, they dropped Fallout 76 and just tanked. I mean, like, I don't know why they thought, because I get it. They went with Skyrim, and then they, went online Skyrim. And then people, somewhat enjoyed that. And then they were like, well, hold on. You're telling me that we can pretty much recycle games and just make them online? Bet. And then that's what they do. And then it's like, it's boring. Come on. Nobody cares. I mean, I like the non-playable characters. I like that they exist in the game. And Fallout 76, they don't. There's nobody you talk to other than, other random people. And it just brews trolls, and plus with
I
all the
mean,
bugs and
Fallout
everything.
76 is an entire podcast on its own. That's probably a couple podcasts, which
Yeah.
what went wrong with that, because there's so many, from a shit game to promises that weren't kept. I'm looking at you, No Man's Skies. To essentially just literally the company lied to people. You know, I mean, remember the whole canvas bag thing? Do you remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
canvas bag issue? The that rum that they were supposed to do, that it had a huge issue on its own. Literally everything about that game, just not even the game, everything about that company during that time was just bad. Like, it
Yeah.
was horrible. How many times have they remade Skyrim?
Exactly.
18? When did it come out? 2011? They were making that game in 2008, essentially, right? I love Skyrim. It was a shit game.
Yeah, and I think this is good time to transition into VR itself, because they made Skyrim for virtual reality headset.
It did.
They made Skyrim for Nintendo Switch. They made Skyrim for everything under the sun that they could, and then they not only did they make it for some, they also remastered it and then
Yeah.
sold it again. So I mean, like Xbox, here's your Skyrim, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make the graphics look a little bit better and remaster it, and it's $40. So it's like, dang, dude, relax.
I think Skyrim works really well with VR, just with the mechanics, with the weapons, with bows, with swords, with daggers, with shields, with magic. Like, it works well.
Mm-hmm.
Minecraft, you could argue, is another good one for VR. I really like the idea of VR. I don't have a set because I'm broke.
Yeah.
They are really expensive. I think it'd be cool in a few years when they go down in price, because they probably will. I imagine, with all the different ones coming out. I mean, you have what Sony has one, Oculus Rift has one.
Well, I think the probably a
There's
decent
other
like beginner
ones.
one is the Oculus Rift S, I believe. And I think it's around
Yeah.
like $399 right now.
Right, so it's still $400. I'd rather
Uh,
spend $400 on something else. Get a new graphics card. Get
yeah.
something.
When it first came out, I actually bought one. So I bought the HTC.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had the HTC Vive, and I had that for a
Okay.
while. And that one was expensive. It was like their flagship. I think it was like $799 when it first released. And Daddy said, "All right, full send," and I bought it. And then I played it. I had it for like, I don't know, like 6 months, almost a year, and then I
Mhm.
sold it because it made me feel weird, and I didn't like it. I would get out of the VR and I'd feel like, is this real life? So I mean, like, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the aspect of VR.
Yeah.
It gave me a lot of motion sickness too.
Huh.
And I think, I read a lot about it, and like people were like, well, if you just like, keep going in and then coming out and keep going in, and they're like, over time you'll kind of get used to it.
Right.
Which I didn't really care enough to do, because up till then, when I first bought it, they didn't have any kind of like competitive or any aspects of like first person shooters really, other
Right.
than like the zombie one that I played, which I really liked. It was called Arizona Sunshine. That was a fun game to play.
Huh.
If you have VR, I highly suggest that game. You're literally, I mean, you run around with guns and you shoot zombies. I mean, it's amazing. I enjoyed
Right.
it a lot. I mean, it actually had a good story behind it too. But now they have like games like Zero Caliber. They have other games where you can literally like pretty much play against other players. And it's pretty neat to see. Especially with all the funny stuff that happens with VR, right? I mean, people, have you ever seen it where where they'll like take their magazine out, like they'll go over and like click their magazine, it'll drop out of the person's gun and they shoot them, stuff like that.
Yeah, I have seen that.
I mean, literally, that can only be done in VR. You can't do it in any other kind of game. So VR is going to be something that continues to grow. I believe it'll be a lot more than just a headset. I think that they'll incorporate like handheld guns into it. I've seen those treadmills where people run and then it runs in the actual video game. I think that it'll continue to grow. How much will it cost in time? I don't know. I'm sure if you bought, because I've seen it, I know that it exists. I've seen it played, where the guy has a gun, he has the headset on, and he's also running on the treadmill. I'm sure that bad boy's anywhere near $2,000 to $3,000 to buy that whole setup.
Yeah.
And that's insane. The general market can't buy that right now. people have a hard time buying an Xbox One X when it was $499. And people
Mhm.
aren't going to go out and cop $3,000 just for something that they might play every once in a while.
Right.
So until it gets bigger, it's going to take some time. I also seen people play Beat Saber. Have you seen that?
I have. That's a cool one.
Yeah, so people really enjoy that, and I've watched people play it. It looks pretty neat. I've never got to enjoy that, sadly, and I never got to enjoy Skyrim on VR either. Which Skyrim on VR right now is $60.
Oof, $60.
Yeah, 60
That
bucks.
game has to be the top moneymaker for Bethesda.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
There's no way it's not.
Yeah, because they've resold it only a million times, and then I'm sure once they got another deal with Nintendo Switch, I'm sure skyrocketed there too. Because honestly, the only thing that I'd buy Skyrim on again would be Nintendo Switch if I ever got one, just to play like if I'm out and about.
Right.
Because I enjoyed the Skyrim franchise, or just Skyrim in itself. Even
Yeah, it
the
was
Elder
fun.
Scrolls franchise. No, don't you say that? Don't you say that? Because I heard the last podcast you guys said
I don't think that
"Wasn't
made it in the I don't think that
great?"
made it in the cut.
Oh, okay,
last
that
podcast.
wasn't in the
That
other
was-
one.
Yeah, no. So I played hundreds of hours in Skyrim. I love Skyrim, don't get me wrong. I have issues with Skyrim, and we'll talk about that later in another podcast. But the thing that I'm most terrified about, I mean, this is kind of breaking off from our main topic, but screw it. The thing that I'm most scared about when it comes to Bethesda is Elder Scrolls 6
Yeah,
when that comes out.
yeah. it's
Because
gonna be
let's look at the track record, right? Let's look at the last few games that Bethesda's done. Not counting Skyrim, that's been done 1,000 times, and almost each time that it's been re-released, it's been worse. They've had Fallout 76, the disaster of that.
difficult.
They've had uh Fallout 4 was buggy beyond belief. Was actually from a paper on a paper standpoint, horrible game.
Yeah,
Horrible game. I'm not a Fallout player. I don't like Fallout. I never have. I've tried 3. I've tried 4.
I've always
Never
loved
tried New
Fallout.
Vegas. I've heard great things about New Vegas.
Mhm.
But Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim, they've all been kind of trash.
Mhm.
And as time has gone on, they've only gotten worse.
It really depends.
Skyrim was meh,
yeah.
right? Fallout 76, the most recent one, was just they nuked themselves.
Yeah, see, I think that, Bethesda in itself it's a certain play style for people. So I'll argue that Skyrim was one of the greatest games that I've ever played. Skyrim was great. I love all the Fallout series just because I like those kind of single player games. I like to be left alone in the wilderness to go do my own thing and enjoy this big open world with people that I can talk to and do whatever I need to do with. There was plenty of times where I sat literally in a party chat with Pappy, and we would play hours of Fallout or whatever and just talk to each other every once in a while on the microphone. You know what I mean? Just because
No, same. That's the same way for me. I did literally the same exact thing with other people.
Yeah.
But
So
and I'm not bashing Skyrim when I say Skyrim is a bad game. I'm bashing the company. Bethesda recently, in the last 5 years, has spent from being on one of the top people in the game, right, to
mhm.
be absolutely garbage.
Oh yeah, they're a laughing stock right now, basically.
Just garbage. So that makes me terrified for Elder Scrolls 6 because I loved Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5. I loved it. I only want the game to get better, right? And the next one, I can't wait for Elder Scrolls 6, but I'm terrified of the track record that Bethesda has with them right now.
Yeah.
I'm not pre-ordering Elder Scrolls 6. I'm gonna wait.
Well, I'm just gonna say, Tom, you better get your head out your ass
Get
when you make
your
these new
shit together.
games.
You have got the capital.
Oh yeah.
You've got the people.
Oh, I'm sure they could hire anybody and everybody they want.
You can make it work.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The only game that I'm pre-ordering in the future is Cyberpunk 2077. That's it.
Yeah, and they do have that saving grace. So, but going back to VR a little bit, since we got a little off topic there, the newest game that they have that I'm actually the most excited about is, and sadly I don't have my VR anymore, but headset anymore. But Half-Life, have you seen that? Have you seen the
Oh, the
previews for that?
Half-Life Altria? What's it called?
It's Alyx,
Alyx.
Alyx.
That's yeah.
That looks so dope. I mean, I might buy another headset just to play that. I mean, really, I mean, that's pretty neat. Actually, around my house, they have a virtual reality arcade, so you can go there and actually like play
Really?
games and stuff there. Yeah, so that's pretty
Next
neat.
time I come over, we're gonna do that.
I mean, I've never actually stepped foot in there, but I've seen like reviews about it and everything. So, assuming that it's still in business.
That's sick, dude.
But I mean, the game looks cool. Like I'm watching the trailer for it right now again. Um, it looks like it's probably the best graphic wise for VR that they've had yet. So I mean, obviously they're going to continue just to get better with VR.
Right.
I don't know if it's still kind of got like that motion sickness problem that I've had, but it really looks. There's so much more that you can do in VR than you can do with just a normal game because you're using your body. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're doing so much more than they could ever put into a controller. So it really is a lot more immersive than any kind of.
Well, you
any kind
remember
of
when
controller
VR
can do.
chat exploded?
I played VR chat. I loved VR chat.
I saw one of your clips. I don't know if it was on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I really enjoyed watching VR, like watching clips on YouTube, watching it on Twitch. Like that's awesome to me, right? I mean, it's kind of funny because when you're growing up as a kid, it's stranger danger and don't talk to people on the internet, and then this happens where like people are just wanting to have fun, right? They're just wanting to hang out, mess around.
And I'm gonna say this, and this is just kind of putting it out there. Everybody's like, "Oh, video games are bad. Video games are terrible." But really, like VR chat was literally you going into this make-believe world to talk to people and just have fun, doing whatever. You want to make up a character or whatever you want to do, you want to play that, go ahead. And that really helps people with like social anxiety problems and any kind of, I could have we could have a whole nother podcast on something like this about video games and how they actually help people rather than hurt people.
Which we should.
And we definitely should. That should be the big time. That should be one that we write down.
That'd be a lot of fun to
do. And it video games like that really do help people, continue to actually talk to people and create friendships that they never had before.
Right.
So VR chat was a lot of fun to play, and it was also a lot of fun to do. And you didn't even have to have a headset to do that. You could literally just go in there with just normal mouse and keyboard and talk to people.
Right.
Which is actually what I did. I sold my headset before I had that. So rip. I had something else that I was going to say too, but I can't remember what it was. It was about VR. But before I forget anything, I just wanted to thank you guys real quick for you and Matt taking over the podcast last week. That was a lot of fun to listen to.
No, really enjoyed that. That was great.
And it was great to have, something as a filler for people to actually enjoy.
Was it weird to listen to your podcast or our podcast rather and not be in it?
It necessarily wasn't weird. It was more cool. You know what I mean? It was actually nice to like you get an outside perspective on what we're doing. And,
sure.
Hopefully maybe one day, if you go on vacation and you can't do one, I get somebody you can listen to one and see what you think. But it is, I enjoy the podcast. I enjoy it a lot. I think people respond to it well. So I think that it's going to continue to go up. I think that this podcast could be something one day, honestly.
We definitely need to work on getting this on like Spotify or
just
other modes of podcast trends, whatever.
Because you know what I mean? People with YouTube, all they can do is click it. And then, unless you have YouTube TV or whatever, as soon as you lock it, it just goes away. Right. So people with like Spotify, and they can listen to it while they, I actually listened to your guys' podcast while I was working out. So, I mean,
nice.
It was kind of nice, Most of the time I listen to music, but when Dad's repping the games, you know what I mean? I can listen to whatever. So I was just pumping iron to a little bit of podcast. But I mean, Yeah, we definitely need to work on something like that. And then for YouTube, I would like to see us get like webcams up, or make it a
Right.
little bit more immersive, or not even
And that's
immersive,
definitely in
but
the
just
works. I need to buy a camera.
yeah,
I would also like to live stream this at some point.
exactly. And live stream
Record
is
it,
big
live
too.
stream it, same thing.
Yeah. So I think that would be good, and I would definitely post it up on the channel, like, hey, go check this out. And then people can call us assholes while we're in the podcast.
Heck yeah.
So that would
And
be
then the other thing
great.
about that would be kind of cool, interactive, right? So if someone wants to ask a question about a certain topic we're talking about,
Exactly.
we can then answer it. Or, hey, maybe I didn't even think about the point. Let's bring that up into the
Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely something that we'll have in the works. But, kind of wrapping up with the VR thing, I do believe that VR will continue to advance and continue to be something that will be big one day. And right now, it's for a certain niche of people, and those people,
The wealthy.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, maybe so. I mean, but like I said, some of the VR headsets are coming down in price, so
Right.
it's not too bad. It's almost as much as a console, which is you still have to have a decent PC, except for there are some standalone. Like I think the Oculus Rift S is a standalone machine, so you literally just have to have Wi-Fi, and then you can buy stuff from there. Or maybe that's not how it works. Maybe you buy stuff from Steam or the computer or whatever, and then you plug it into a USB into that. I'm not exactly sure how the Rift works yet. I'd have to look at it and see. But it is a standalone machine, so you don't have to have an insane computer. Luckily, I do have a good computer.
We both do.
It's definitely something to be grateful for. Yeah, actually, I think our computers are basically the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
You have the i7 9700K, right?
Yeah, that's right. You did get the 9700, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I got the 9700, and then I also got the 1070.
We've got the same we have the exact same graphics card, same CPU.
Yeah.
What kind of RAM do you have?
I think I have DDR4, but I think it's 3200. I want to say.
Wait, what brand RAM do you have?
It's G.Skill.
Oh, okay. Do you have 16 gigabytes?
Yeah, I have 16 gigabytes. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I got. I have the Corsair Vengeance, 16 gigabytes.
Yeah.
So we basically have the same PC.
It basically is. I mean, other than like the motherboard and the RAM probably being different and everything, but
yeah.
I mean that
I have like a lot of cooling as well. Like I have a lot of.
I've got a lot of cooling too. I've got
six fans.
I got 5 fans in there right now, so you got a little bit more than I do. But I have liquid cooling. Do you have liquid cooling?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I love my PC. Though. I'm just sitting here staring at it. But
dude, I've been staring at it all podcast.
I mean, we're kind of getting away from what we're talking about, but so
honestly, let's be honest. This podcast was a bit all over the place in general.
It really
was. We talked about Halo. We talked about VR, but we also talked about a lot more.
You know what I mean? Like this is the first podcast back, you and I, so it feels good. There was a lot to say, a lot to talk about, a lot to get out there.
Well, the other thing is like with podcasting. Is that a word? Podcasting?
I'm not sure. I think you made it up.
Look at us inventing things. Anyway, one of the things I love about podcasts is like you can have a super structured podcast and just hit all the points and you're done. But I also just like having conversations, right? Like just branching off. Like, hey, this leads us to this, which leads us to that. Like,
yeah,
obviously two different styles. Sometimes one, obviously, when you branch off, it's harder to follow. But I think sometimes it flows better when you can just go off.
And you don't want it so scripted where people are like, this sounds like a monotoned podcast. So I enjoy it. I think it's fun. And we always appreciate you guys listening in. And be sure to check us out at Gaming is the Mission on YouTube and Instagram. And go ahead and give my Twitch a follow at Get'em Clan is what it is. GITMCLAN. And then go ahead and plug yourself, Stu.
Twitch.tv/I'm Stu. IMSTUUU. 3 U's. Don't forget that. 3.
Exactly. When I looked you up the first time, I don't know what it was. I guess
you probably did too.
I might have did too. Did you just recently create it, or did you?
No.
Okay,
like I recently updated everything. And I think when you actually were trying to look me up, no, I think that was after. I don't know. I don't know what your struggle was, to be honest.
I don't
know. Like because a couple days ago, probably about a week ago to 5 days, is when I like refreshed everything. Like I got a new background, new profile picture, literally new everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I might have to talk to you and steal some of your Twitch things and see exactly
Yeah,
how
dude.
you got all that. Because mine's pretty basic still.
Mine was really simple, honestly, and I'd be more than happy.
Yeah.
We can talk
Yeah, but we'll talk about
podcast.
that after podcast. All right. So we thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be back again on Wednesday. Be sure to catch us every Wednesday and every Sunday, unless something happens. But majority of the time, we're here Wednesday and Sundays.
That's
So
true.
be sure to check us out. As always, we appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
See ya.